Jedi to end.
Let's get started.
How's it going, guys? Jedi-Matt here. And the biggest question is that Luke was too grumpy. He was too, he wasn't the good boy that we know in the original trilogy, the good old boy, the positive attitude, the can-do attitude. He wasn't that guy in the sequels. So what happened? Well, life happened, long story short. But let's talk about that. And before we get too far into it, let me just point out, going into exile when something messes up, it's kind of a theme in Star Wars. If we look at the prequel trilogy, Yoda, after Order 66, Yoda goes into exile into Dagobah, apart from anyone else, away from anyone else. He's just living his life in Dagobah. Now, that's not really the Yoda we know in the prequels up to that point, because the Yoda we know in the prequels, again, was kind of positive. He was sure of the Jedi. He was positive of the Jedi. And, nothing's going to take the Jedi down. But then we get to where he exiles himself to Dagobah. If we look at the original trilogy, we see that Obi-Wan was in exile. Yes, he was keeping an eye on Luke, but if we go back to the Obi-Wan series, he was just staying away from everyone. He was not, again, as positive and can-do as he was in the prequels. So this idea of having a can-do attitude and then kind of getting disillusioned and bummed out and going into exile is kind of a theme in Star Wars. So to say that Luke doing this is out of character, it actually fits Star Wars quite well. But let's take a look at why Luke did this to himself. Why did he go in exile? Why did he go away from everyone? What made him this way? Let's take a deeper look into that. And the first thing, the given thing that we see is the fall of the new Jedi Order. Luke was trying to put together a Jedi Order. He had students, and that failed. Ben Solo, aka Kylo, was one of his students. It was the son of Han and Leia. Long story short, Ben gets seduced to the dark side by Snoke. Luke, in a moment of temptation, in a moment of weakness, pulls out his lightsaber as if he's going to just end this before it gets bad. He reminisces about Vader and how bad Vader was, what he did and all that. And he's like, I'm going to put an end to this before he even gets started. And common sense comes back to him. He realizes what he's doing. He's giving into this temptation of a dark side temptation. And before he can put his lightsaber away, Ben wakes up and misjudges the situation and misreads the situation and attacks Luke, and thus kind of cementing Ben's fall to the dark side and becoming Kylo Ren, destroying the new Jedi Order. And because of this, Luke gets pretty bummed out. Let's take it a little bit further. Not only does Luke get bummed out about his nephew turning to the dark side and destroying the entire new Jedi Academy Order, whatever you want to call it. I mean, this is guilt Luke is harvesting. Because of Luke, a bunch of more younglings, maybe, we don't really know, younglings, kids, teens, apprentices, whatever, a bunch of people, because of Luke, die because of this. They die. And then, to make matters worse, the First Order comes along. So whether it's his fault or not, which I don't think it is, because the Empire has always kind of been there in the background, but Luke feels like he has some responsibility for the First Order getting started, for Ben becoming what he is, and so he has a lot of guilt. This is, to him, it's like the biggest mistake he's ever made in his entire life, and he doesn't know what to do. So he runs. He gets out of there. He exiles himself onto a planet where no one can find him because he just feels awful. And he he is done with it. He doesn't want to be responsible for any more death or any more catastrophes than he already feels responsible for. And so he hides. And when Rey finds him, he's reluctant to teach her. He doesn't want to teach her. He wants the Jedi to end. And he says that because looking back at the Jedi, they were flawed. We see that in the Acolyte. We see that in the prequels. They were flawed people. They were supposed to be peacekeepers, not soldiers. They become soldiers. They become more than peacekeepers. They start fighting a war and they start hiding secrets. And the Jedi start doing these things which make the other Jedi question their faith in the Jedi and the people's faith in the Jedi. They start to question, who are they? What are they doing? What's their purpose? The Jedi were flawed. And so Luke understands this, and he doesn't want it to happen anymore. He doesn't want people to put their faith in something that is going to hurt them, in something that is going to betray them. He just wants it to end. It's time for the Jedi to end. Anyway, this is why Luke is the way he is in the sequel trilogy. And to say that it doesn't fit with the rest of Star Wars is just not true, because it's a whole theme in Star Wars. Had a guy tell me that he doesn't like his heroes being more realistic. That's why I didn't like Luke being all disillusioned, grumpy, and all that in the sequel trilogy. It made him not like the sequel trilogy because of that. But I say, isn't it cool that your hero is going through a problem and then overcoming it at the end? It shows you that you can overcome anything. And we might all fall down, but we have to learn to get back up. And I believe that's what the sequel trilogy teaches us with Luke. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching this. I hope you have a great day, and may the Force be with you.